Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedules to join me today. I hope that there is something within this video that is a benefit to you or someone that you know. Please leave a comment down below. And I hope that this sheds some light on some of the things that have been going on and at least shares my opinion. I wanted to start with something very interesting. I wanted to start with the State of the Union address, where Biden is talking about burn pits. Now, this was just this year in 2020. And have you watched Nancy Pelosi? Now, with Jon Stewart saying how the Republicans don't care about veterans, well, I got news for you. I am a veteran. I do not support the bill either, though. Not in its entirety as it was passed. When to start, it had, I believe it was $403 billion in discretionary funds. Well, the funds got changed to mandatory, and it still has, within that budget, $403 billion in discretionary funds. The amount for a total to the American people of a mandatory $403 with an additional, or $403 billion with an additional $403 billion discretionary fund on spending. Anyways, watch how Pelosi rubs her hand greedily together when Biden talks about the burn pits that she had to be planning to make some money off of it. I do want to say real quick before I go much further, I'm having some trouble with my audio, so I apologize if this comes off a little louder or hard to hear, but you can find it on the internet.
And our troops in Iraq Afghanistan have faced many dangers. One being stationed at bases breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits.
There she goes. Stands up, rubs her hands together. She knows she's going to make money.
Yeah,
C-SPAN had to take it off of her because she spent the entire time rubbing her hands together. Like she's going to make some money off this. Sits down. See? This is some money for you and me, it looks like she says. But I'm not a lip reader.
Warriors in the world. Never the same. Headaches, numbness, dizziness.
I found that really interesting. But it does look like she's saying something, and she's either pointing at Biden or pointing at Kamala, and Kamala doesn't seem too happy during that exchange. So again, the deficit is caused by spending more money than the federal government is collecting. The further apart the money that is collected versus the money that is spent, that amount is the deficit. See, Democrats, they seem to think that if they raise more money from taxes, it will lower the deficit and they can continue their spending. That is why they're spending $80 billion of your money to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. That came in the Inflation Reduction Act, in case, well, I know by now everybody's heard about it. Now, the IRS says that they will be increasing their people and audits for people making $400,000 a year. But as it stands, 90% of all audits are on people who make under $200,000 a year. That's most small businesses. I wish I could tell you about the service I offer right now, but the corporation is Democrat and wouldn't support my political beliefs. The IRS says they're not going after lower class and only going after corporations and billionaires. There's only 700 billionaires in the world, and there's 500 Fortune 500 companies. So where are they going to get the rest of the money? I've done some episodes on servant leadership, and current politicians, even in my city that I live in, the mayor needs to be impeached. Defund the police? Oh my gosh. Yeah, it takes about 2 hours to respond to a 911 call. So nobody's bleeding or shot, and it takes even longer if they show up at all. So I'm like, why are we defunding the police? We should be defunding the FBI and abolishing the IRS. Both of those alphabet agencies already have another agency that does the same job they do, which is the Department of Homeland Security. It's another department I think we should just stop spending so much money on. So on the topic of the IRS and its it is unconstitutional. It was not anything until 1914. But hey, they took down the job posting for use of lethal force, in which they were hiring people for lethal force because too many people were, well, being worried that the IRS is going to start knocking down the door with guns to collect their money. They won't do that. That's for the Criminal Investigation Unit. They won't do that. They'll just send you a letter in the mail taking it out of your bank account anyways. Don't know why people are worried about the use of lethal force. But then again, in these times, most people, they just get a letter in the mail saying that we're going to go ahead and withhold your refund because of reasons, or we're just going to pull it right out of your account because of reasons. Without a lawyer, you can't fight them, and they know it. That is why 90% of all audits, to this day, you can look up the statistics yourself, are on those that make less than $200,000 a year, small businesses and individuals. Whereas you cannot fight the IRS in court over the IRS laws. And with the IRS, you are guilty until you prove your innocence. As for defunding the FBI, well, what happened to Trump is an example that they are an arm of the Democratic Party. Again, the Democrats are the original Confederates. They believed that only certain people had human rights. So how, you ask? Okay, well, they're trying to bar Trump from running. It was specifically added in the search warrant by the Department of Justice. Again, another arm of the Democratic Party. They knew about the documents, the 11 boxes, and never in the past has a presidential house ever been raided, let alone like this. For a little bit of the details, they made sure Trump was out of town. Mar-a-Lago is guarded by Secret Service. Plus, you have Trump's personal security, private security. And then you had Hillary, who was only the Secretary of State and did not have the right to declassify anything, had a lot of information on her servers which she wasn't supposed to have and got wiped. And the then head of the Department of Justice went ahead and exonerated her of all charges. Trump, as president, could declassify anything he wants. And Obama has 17,000 documents the National Archives has been requesting from him, and Obama refuses to give them. Yet he's not rated by the FBI. Nor was Hillary rated by the FBI to this degree. So to me, this is a show of at least a two-tier justice system. As the head of the FBI brags about personally authorizing the raid on Trump, the head of the FBI brags personally about authorizing the raid on Trump. So if the Democrats can go after a former president and current strong opposition to the current regime, what makes you think the FBI won't come after you? The FBI even told them to put a padlock on the storage door, and the security at Trump's Florida place is Secret Service because Trump was a former president. Noam Chomsky said last month that America is even more of a communist state now than Russia ever was. The America I grew up in is gone. It saddens me because my kids and grandkids will not grow up in that America, where we wanted to bring our morals and traditions to the rest of the world because we believed that they were morally good. Now the American government not only is waging war on the American people, small business owners, now it's saying how those traditions are bad and evil. The morals of this nation, as well as the establishment, has collapsed. The federal government also has shown that it will remove anyone that it thinks is in their way. As I was saying, the FBI released a paper saying the symbols of our history are a threat to them, to quote-unquote, our democracy, as they try to wipe out our history as well, our traditions. They're declaring the Gadsden flag and even the Betsy Ross flag behind me emblems of extremist activity. Those things that I was raised on to be proud of for what they represent. the flag representing the removal of the chains of oppression. All the aspects I was raised to believe in are now called extremists or outright evil. The social Marxism needs to stop. It's not wokeism, so to speak. It really is more of a social Marxism. The raid on Trump's home was also timed in such a way as to distract from the Inflation Reduction Act, if you haven't noticed. As I mentioned, some of the costs to the people, let me point out that the taxes raised will be passed on to the consumers as they are doing now. The pharmaceutical thing, 95% tax increase on certain medications, and we are supposed to believe that those taxes will not be passed on to the consumer. It is, however, an attempt for the government to do price control. Now, Pfizer already made mad money off of the government, well, with the government and with the COVID shots, and because of the mandate, with the government owning stock in the corporation as it was pushing those mandates, and still is currently pushing the mandates. No, that's not totalitarianism. The 15% corporate tax really is designed to target small businesses. Over the past years, they have been defining what is a quote-unquote small business. Again, I thought he said that he was not going to raise taxes on people who make under $400,000 a year. And yet, here it is for us, small business owners, we're going to see our having to increase our taxes quite a bit. I know most small business owners want to go ahead and pay an additional 15% tax rate. And small business being anybody who owns a business that makes under $200,000 a year. Now, it is a moral imperative that Trump wins to restore some semblance to America as what it used to be what it used to stand for as well. Equal justice under the law. It's supposed to be guaranteed to us all, but it's obviously not happening. And then, of course, there's always the fact that the law will change on the spur of a moment to match or fit the Democrats. Let's look at all the Antifa people who were not only released, but also had Kamala Harris pay for their bail. Okay. But we still have people in prison over January 6th. I was not sure of voting for Trump, as he was a bit old. I mean, come on, I know I'm 53, but I'm not an octogenarian like President, what's his name? But now, Trump needs to win, just like Odysseus in the test of the great bow. Now that the Democrats have crossed the Rubicon, the fall of the Roman Republic led to a lot of misery for many people. But alas, at the same time, this situation screams how much we need to pay attention to the state of our government. As DeSantis has proved, we should do. Like Florida, we need to stand up to the government keeping us down, or we will end up like California. And these politicians think that they're better than us. They think they're better than you. They're above you somehow. And that is not how America was meant to be, nor to have our leaders be. Now, what would be neat is DeSantis being Trump's vice president and then running for president afterwards. It's so bad that I saw a review of a historical fantasy game where they were complaining because they cannot play as a woman. Now, remind you, I said historical fantasy game. But I'd also like to see a 4.5-foot woman fireman carry a 200-pound, 250-pound man, not counting his gear as well, across no man's land. It ain't gonna happen, even if they call themselves a man. Hey, I was declared non-essential by my government, basically stripped of my rights, just like that. Even now, we are still at war over human rights, whether the government gives it to us or something much higher and above man that gives us our inalienable rights. Even now with abortion, we are trying to decide when humans are awarded human rights by the government. The government now does not believe that you get your rights as a human until you're birthed. Yet, who is it to defend those who cannot speak for themselves? It used to be America. Is it the moral thing to do to protect those who cannot protect themselves? To speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves? If you read the Bible, life begins at conception. Should not a moral person then stand up to protect human life that cannot defend itself? We have always, as far as the West has been concerned, considered that to be the role of a hero. Instead, we hear how the immoral are now the ones in power. And in my state, it allows abortion up into the point of birth. First thing the governor did when she got into office was to sign an executive order putting it in place. I think she should be impeached as well. But her election is coming up, and I encourage everyone to vote. The peaceful way to change our government is to vote. But our founding fathers gave us the Second Amendment. As it is, the government does not serve us, nor fear us, the people. Not just any specific group, but the people of America as a whole. So, I wanted to share one more thing. Maybe you might want to think about being this guy. Here's a closer version of him in case you missed that he's not. Going with the crowd. So I encourage everybody, be this guy. And with that, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to join me today. I hope that there was something in here that was a benefit to you, or might be a benefit to somebody that you know. Please like, subscribe, share this video, and leave a comment down below. I'd be interested in hearing your opinion on some of the points I've made. United we stand, divided we fall. God bless you, and God bless America.